morning, little chef.
It's like glass this morning.
I can't believe I wake up to these views every morning.
Gorgeous.
The waters here at Cape Santa Maria are as clear as a swimming pool. Once I took some time to appreciate nature, I got back into the galley, made myself a cup of coffee, and started on breakfast. The owners are the only one on board right now. One said they're hungry now, and the other said they're going to wait for breakfast. So for breakfast number 1, we're doing steak and eggs. I'll fry up a couple of eggs and sear off some leftover ribeye. The owners follow a pretty low-carb diet, so whenever I have a chance to replace carbs with protein, I'll do it. The steak is warmed through, let's slice it up. After I plate up the steak and eggs, I'll drizzle the steak with some herb butter that I made, and garnish the dish with parsley and some arugula. Adding a pop of green will make a dish look 100 times better. And we eat with our eyes, so that's why it's so important to garnish. And I almost forgot, I'm putting a touch of fleur de sel on top of the steak, which translates to flower of salt. It's a pretty expensive salt, but it's worth it. The taste and the texture is amazing. The other owner saw the breakfast that I put out, and she finally got hungry. She requested a gluten-free bagel with almond butter and jam. After I cleaned up from breakfast, I got started on barbecue prep. The barbecue for 24 people is tomorrow, but we're going to be underway the whole day and I'm not going to have any time to prep. So I'm getting everything prepped today so that way tomorrow all I have to do is warm it up. I wish I had a smoker on board to smoke all of these proteins, but I'm going to have to slow roast them in the oven. We're cooking up some brisket and pork ribs. And tomorrow, right before lunch, I'll grill off the hot dogs and hamburgers. To season up the ribs and brisket, I'm using a barbecue seasoning. This particular seasoning that I'm using has a smoky flavor to it, so hopefully we can get that smoked flavor without actually smoking it. Another ingredient that I add for some flavor and a touch of sweetness is Coca-Cola. I saw it in a recipe a while ago, started using it, and never stopped. I'll wrap these up with some tin foil and throw it into the oven at like 250 degrees for about 8 hours. Low and slow is the way to go. For the barbecue, we're going to have kids, adults, some that are vegan, low FODMAP, low glycemic, so we're going to have a lot of variety at this barbecue. As part of my job, I need to make sure that I'm catering to all dietary restrictions. I originally thought that these restrictions would limit my creativity, but it's not done that. It actually opened my mind to new substitutions that I can start incorporating into my diet. I made noodles out of hearts of palm. How creative is that? I had to take a little break in prepping to serve the crew some lunch. Now onto all the fun barbecue side dishes. The first one I'm making is a classic. You obviously have to have coleslaw. I'm not much of a mayonnaise-based salad fan, but it's a fan favorite. One of the owner's favorite salads that I make is my broccoli salad. It's another mayonnaise-based one, but I wouldn't say it's as heavy. I put in sunflower seeds, dried cranberries, red onion, bacon, and cheese. The great thing about these types of salads is that they don't wilt, so I can make them ahead of time, and they'll be just fine when I serve them the next day. The next thing that I'm going to work on is tabbouleh, which is definitely more my style. It's olive oil based, and the grain I'm using is quinoa. I'll add in fresh mandarin oranges, some orange juice, lots of fresh herbs, and some dried fruits. I love the sweet and salty action going on in this one. Then I moved on to making my roasted butternut squash puree for tonight's dinner, that I'll also serve with the tabbouleh salad and roasted rack of lamb. It's been 8 hours, so it's time to take out the ribs and brisket. I'll slice them up, throw some barbecue sauce on top, and wrap it up and put it into the fridge, and tomorrow all I have to do is warm it up. With barbecue foods, reheating works perfectly. I'll just add a little water into the pan when I reheat it to create steam so it doesn't dry out. Most of the time I make my own barbecue sauce, but everyone loves Sweet Baby Ray's, so we're going with that today. Barbecue sauce has a lot of sugar in it, so when we reheat these, that's going to caramelize and make this beautiful crust on them. I might even throw it under the broiler to get it nice and sticky. The ribs turned out great. I tested one when it came out of the oven, and I was very happy with it. I'll make sure they're all coated evenly with that barbecue sauce and move on to the brisket. When I took out the brisket and started slicing it, it tried to pee on me. Can someone in the comments tell me why this happens? For my first job working in a restaurant, my job on the buffet line was to slice up the brisket, and I don't ever remember this happening. After I sliced up the brisket, I threw on some barbecue sauce and into the fridge so I can reheat it tomorrow. I also made some cornbread and prepped some acai bowls that I'll serve tomorrow for breakfast. I'm throwing in mango, banana, acai packets, and some almond milk. I'll throw it into the freezer, and tomorrow morning I'll blend it up in the Ninja Creamy. The boys got back from fishing. Let's go see what they caught. Their cooler was packed with yellow eye snapper and one giant mackerel.
How many did you get of those?
10. Ladder bed and then straighten it out so you step on it.
What you gonna do with the mackerel? It's a pretty fishy fish.
Smoke fish.
The captain got into the galley with me. He worked on the fish dip, and I worked on making the ceviche. For the ceviche, I threw in some red peppers, jalapeno, and lots of lime juice. I used about 8 to 10 limes. Then I'll cube up my fish. Yellow eyes are a super mild and delicate white fish, and they're found in about 1,000 feet of water. So when the boys go fishing, they go out miles from shore. They'll drop a line with a 15-pound weight attached. We use squid as bait, and we've always had pretty good luck. Now, you might be thinking, how long does it take to reel a pole up from 1,000 feet of water? Well, it takes about 5 minutes with the method we use. No hand reeling involved, we have electric fishing poles. Simply hit a button and up it comes. Some might call this cheating, but hey, I'm happy. I have tons of fish to be able to work with. I don't always make it into ceviche, sometimes I just bake it and it cooks up beautifully. To finish off the ceviche, I'm adding some diced avocado and red onion. If you're enjoying this channel, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment to show your support. And if you're interested in live cooking classes with me, check the description below. For only $2.99, you'll have access to once-a-month live cooking classes. And if you join today, you'll have access to all previous cooking classes. I record all of the classes, so if you miss it, no worries, you can still participate. Every month, I send out a poll with different recipes, and whichever has the highest amount of votes, that's what we'll cook in the next cooking class. About a week before the class, I'll send out the recipe so that way we can cook together on live. Hope to see you there, little chef. After I finished up the ceviche, I worked on crew dinner. I'm a big lamb fan, but the crew is not, so they're getting burgers for dinner. It's almost time for cocktail hour, so that means I need to get down to crew quarters to change into my dinner outfit. And as soon as I stepped outside, I noticed that there was a storm coming. Tonight, the crew is wearing black shorts and black polos for dinner service. It is Mediterranean night, so for cocktail hour, I made spanakopita and served it with olives and pistachios. For the rack of lamb, I seasoned it with herbes de Provence and a generous helping of salt and pepper. Good thing all of the guests like a medium rare cook. Since it's storming outside, the guests are eating at the indoor dining table. So that means I'll shut the doors to my galley so they can have some privacy as I'm prepping food or doing dishes. I'm serving a 3-course meal tonight. The first course is a Greek salad with cucumbers, tomatoes, feta, and a really nice balsamic vinegar. Typically you'll see red onions, but one of the owners can't have onions. We have 3 new guests fly in today, so I'm serving a total of 5 people for dinner. If I have a guest count of 7 or lower, I'll do plated meals, but anything above that, I'll serve it family style. It's just me in the galley, so imagine running, let's say, 20 plates of food to the upper deck. It'll get cold pretty fast. Maybe if I had a sous chef, we could do more plated dinners for large groups. The first course is plated, time to head out to the table to serve the guest. The stew is in charge of setting the table, and tonight she did a gorgeous job. It's a safety hazard to have real candles on board, but we have these fake ones that are still beautiful. The table's all set, first course is out, so I'll call the guests to the table and head back into the galley. As the guests are working on their first course, I'll be plating up the main course. I'll start with my roasted butternut squash puree, and I plate everything with the rule of odds. So having a grouping of 3 or 5 looks a lot better to the eye than 2 or 4. And you also want to pay attention to color as well. Notice that this butternut squash puree is bright orange. Then I'll take the back of my spoon and do that classic chef swoop. Opposite the butternut squash, I'll set down a little pile of the tabbouleh. The tabbouleh is going to be a great foundation to set our lamb on top of to create some height. It's just going to prop the lamb up a little bit to create some dimension. We got a beautiful medium rare cook on this lamb, so I want to showcase that. Instead of stacking the rack of lamb, I'm exposing all 3 chops so you can see the pink color inside. Lastly, I'll garnish the dish with parsley and fleur de sel. The owners love ranking the meals that I make, and guess what? This one took #1 spot. I was really proud of this dish, and I was kind of expecting it to be a home run. The guests just finished with their first course, so we'll clear the table and serve out the mains. While the guests are eating, I'll head back into the galley and start working on dessert. Tonight, I'm serving 2 things. The first dessert was brought by one of the guests, and they got it while they were on vacation in Spain. I forgot the exact name of it, but it reminded me of peanut brittle. For the second dessert, I'm using the Ninja Creamy. I made a white chocolate raspberry gelato that I'm topping with some spiced nuts. I candied these nuts with sugar, cinnamon, cardamom, and allspice. The guests finished with their mains, so I'll clear the table again and serve out dessert. After I finish cleaning up the galley, I'll make myself a plate. Dinner service can be a bit stressful, and I don't like to eat when I'm stressed. I like to focus on the food and actually enjoy it. Sometimes when I have a really stressful meal, I'll have to take a good 30 minutes to decompress before I eat. Thanks for tuning in to another day in the life as a chef on a yacht. I hope you enjoyed. Bye, little chef.